All right. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the first meetup for the month of October, and we have next one coming next weekend. And welcome again to the virtual meetup. So we have a very short agenda today. One is who are we? Then we'll talk about few Atlassian buzzing, and then we'll also go to the main session for today evening, which is close the loop between Jira and Confluence, create pages with issue data, and then at the end we'll go through some Q and A's as we get some time. So we are the largest Atlassian community in APAC region. We are 1203. I just found it this afternoon, and we are growing. We are continuing to grow. So again, thanks everyone for being part of this community. And here are the community leaders from Bangalore: Vishnu, Fazila, Nagaraj, and myself, Girish. And we also have a small support group in Telegram. Now, this is not a replacement for your Atlassian support. So, if you would like to join us on Telegram, please send us your introduction, your name, your phone number, and your company name to Bangalore_India at atlassiancommunity.com. So that will add you to the group. It's a kind of SOS group. And here's a quick spotlight on Atlassian news. Not much because I covered it last month with respect to vulnerability on the Confluence and then new certifications with Atlassian. So this time I have something as an announcement here. So there is a high velocity ITSM World Tour happening. So it's starting from November 10th. It's a digital event, so you can go and register for the same. It's a free event. So please register going to events.atlassian.com. And now I would like to welcome Laura Campbell, who is a marketing project manager from Elements. So she'll be walking us through the main topic, which is close the loop between Jira and Confluence, create pages with issue data. So over to you, Laura. Welcome once again.
Oh, thank you for having me. Before I get started with the presentation, I thought it might be interesting, maybe just in the chat, if people want to share if they only use Jira or if they use Jira with Confluence, or I don't know, maybe there's someone who only mainly uses Confluence, but I know that there are some companies that get started with Jira, especially with their software teams, and that don't adopt Confluence right away. But okay, great. So Stephen's using Jira and Confluence. Great, Fazila as well.
It's a couple, right? I mean, they can't stay out of each other. I think wherever you see Jira, generally you see Confluence.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you, but there are companies that are maybe using another tool. Maybe they're using Asana, or they have been using Trello, and they want to formalize a little bit more how their software teams are working, or task management software. And so they first go looking for that, and they find Jira, but they haven't necessarily adopted Confluence yet. But
Yeah,
okay, so it looks like
I get. Yeah,
most people are using Jira with Confluence. Great. Okay, so let me share.
Yeah,
Share.
actually, we have started working on kind of POC like Confluence with Teams. Um, so, because after the change in the license versions, so like as part of this, we had done some sort of integration between Power BI and Teams, Jira and Teams, and we are just working on the versions of the files, how better the teams can be maintained than SharePoint. First thing, and what are the capabilities that teams can maintain comparing with Confluence, etc. Yeah, it's not complete kind of replacement, but yeah, we're still, it's all best of use case.
Okay, good to know. So before I get started, I was here a couple months ago, so nice to be back. But in case anyone doesn't know Elements, where I work, we're a gold Atlassian Marketplace vendor, and we currently have 4 Jira apps and 1 Confluence app on the marketplace. Although we will have some more apps soon because we participated in Codegeist, the hackathon that Atlassian ran this summer. And we had 2 of the apps that we submitted on that won awards. So we're working on bringing those to the marketplace as well. But today I will be talking about how you can get more out of Jira and Confluence by using them together. And of course, talking about our newest app, Elements Published to Confluence. So for those of you who use Jira and Confluence together, hopefully you already have been able to try some of these things, but you should use Jira and Confluence together because it helps you have everything all together, especially documentation, maybe for the software you're working on, the project you're working on. Your team members won't have to search across email, computer folders, Drive, or whatever they need. It all can be organized where there's release notes, requirements, code reviews, details of user stories and things like that. That all can be directly in Confluence. It's really useful for cross-team communication and collaboration. So it can help break down the barrier between engineering teams that are spending most of their time on Jira and the rest of the business departments that want to see more document-based information. They're not going to be going and looking at sprint burn downs and roadmaps and things like that in Jira. So it can be really helpful for improving communication across all of the different teams in the company. Of course, using both tools together helps you deliver faster. You reduce wasted time when you're context switching, and then, of course, there's all the ways that you can use the tools together to help you perform all the different tasks that you need to do with software development. You have documentation. You can access pages from Jira with links and connecting spaces to the projects. So it helps you to deliver faster. Atlassian did a survey, and 76% of Jira software customers said that they shipped projects faster after they added Confluence. So the last way that, last big reason why you should use Jira and Confluence together is that they help business teams benefit from the reporting. But like I mentioned, helping to improve that cross-team communication and collaboration. There are lots of different ways that you can take data from Jira and present it in more reporting way in Confluence. You can link information from Jira to Confluence reports, present status updates and charts and things like that. So make everything that's in Jira available in Confluence. So when you use Jira and Confluence together, we know there's lots of great things that you can do. You can display Jira issues on Confluence pages, either just an individual issue, or you can create a JQL query to make a list, display a list based on that filter. You can create Jira reports using the Jira chart option and then display those in Confluence. If you use roadmaps to track dependencies or to see work on a timeline, you can display your roadmap on Confluence too. You can add a shortcut to Jira from Confluence Space. This is especially handy in cloud. So you paste a Jira project URL in the edit space shortcuts dialog box, and then you can name your shortcut for easy reference. And if there isn't a Jira issue yet for the task that you need, maybe you have a page that is going over a big project and there's lots of different tasks and things that are outlined, you can create issues directly from Confluence by highlighting the text in that page and directly selecting the project and issue type that you want to create. If you're in Jira, from an issue, you can link to an existing Confluence page so that it is available right within the issue. You don't have to go search for it in your Confluence instance. And if you connect your Jira software project to a Confluence space, you can see existing project pages from Jira and even create a new empty page. If you're using Jira Service Management, of course, you can start creating a public knowledge base article directly from a request. But last idea of using them together, what if you want to publish your Jira issue to Confluence? So not just create a new empty page, but if you want to take everything that you need in your Jira issue and put it on a Confluence page without having to copy and paste. So that's where Elements Publish to Confluence can help. Elements Publish to Confluence allows you to publish your issue data and create Confluence pages that include issue details and attachments. Plus, you can choose to apply labels from your Jira issue to your page. It can be used with Jira Work Management software and Service Management, and it's available on cloud. So if you're using a Jira Server or Data Center, the on-premise version of our app, Elements Copy and Sync, will allow you to achieve the same result. But the configuration is a little bit different. The way that you set it up is a little bit different. And I won't be showing you how that app will work today. I'm just going to show you how our new Jira Cloud app works. But if your team is on premise and you want to be able to implement this use case, don't hesitate to reach out to Elements, and we can help you do that with our on-premise version of Copy and Sync. So let's look at something that you might have already faced, a major incident. Something happened, you had a big problem. But it's it's behind you now. You've just resolved it. And now it's time to get your team together for a post-mortem to try to understand what caused the incident, what you need to do to prevent it from happening again. And that's where using Jira and Confluence together can help you get the most out of the tools. So we can start off by looking at an example incident issue. So we're in Jira, and we can see that this incident issue has a lot of important information, like when the incident was created and resolved, the components, priority, of course, the description, it has some attached files. And a lot of this information is needed for our postmortem. We need to start off describing what happened before we can analyze the why and how and think about what to do next. And we don't want to have to copy and paste everything from Jira to Confluence, or do some kind of workaround like exporting to Word and then importing to Confluence. So we can take a look at how Elements Publish to Confluence works in this situation. So here we have an incident issue that's been resolved. We've finished working on it, and we want to create a postmortem. So we're going to, in that action menu, select Publish to Confluence. And then we have a list of recipes. We're going to choose this one. We want to create a postmortem. Click Next. And on the next screen, we can see that the Confluence space and parent page have already been pre-configured, and we already have this dynamic title that's been pre-filled. So we'll click Submit. And then we can go click on the parent page, and we can find the postmortem that we've just created. So we can see that the key information needed from the issue is already on the page, the detected and resolved date, the components, we have everything from the description of the issue, and we can go on, move on to the rest of the postmortem process. So we're back on our issue. We're just going to refresh the page. And if I scroll down, I can see that there is a link that's been added for the Confluence pages. So the page that we just created is already available for everyone to see it directly from the incident issue. So we can just take a moment to compare. This is what was in the Jira ticket, and this is how it appears on the Confluence page. So you can see that the information from the Jira issue, the description that was put on the page, we were able to take the components. We have the person who created So it's the page, all the information that we want is published, successfully published to Confluence. So now we can go take a look at how this recipe was configured. So how we get that information from Jira to Confluence. So we are here in the Publish to Confluence admin, which you can access from the Apps tab. And just as a side note, you do need to have administrator privileges in order to configure Publish to Confluence. So I click on recipes, and we can see that there already are a couple of recipes that have been configured. We're going to take a look at the one that we use to create a postmortem. And first thing we see is a summary of what's configured. So we'll only see this recipe if we're in the Tellurian support desk looking at an incident or problem that's been resolved. And if you want to make a recipe even more precise, you could add additional criteria with JQL, like a priority level or a custom field value. We have a summary of the target where the pages will be created, space, parent page, etc., and that it's the status that's been created. Okay, so we can move on to the source tab. And we can see that we pre-selected a project, but we could have made a couple more projects available. Out of all of the issue types, we've selected 2, has to be resolved. This is where we can enter, of course, the additional criteria. And then we have a configuration tester. So there are 9 issues that match this criteria. It can help you test to make sure you have issues that match that. So now the target tab, this is where we can select the space and the parent page. So just as a note, you can only publish to a Confluence instance that's part of the same site as your Jira. You can also configure the user, publish a page on behalf of someone, depending on your use case, and then you can create that link in the source issue. So now on the content tab, this is where you design your page. So here in the title, I mentioned that you can have a dynamic page title, so I'm just going to delete that. And if I click on insert and then open up this, I can browse all of the different values that are available from my issue, or I can start typing. So I want to insert the summary. I'm just going to click on that and insert. And there, that field reference has been automatically inserted. And you can see the template, I've added some other field references. And then down below, this is where you can activate if you want attachments or labels to be copied from the issue to your page. And then the last tab is triggers. This is where you can customize how the recipe is available and whether or not you want it to be triggered by GSM customers, for example, when they raise a request on the support portal. So that's it. If it's a new recipe, you just need to activate it. But as you can see, there's no coding or scripting. It's just drop-down fields and regular formatting. So we all know people can sometimes forget some follow-up actions, especially for something like a postmortem where the incident has been resolved. But we can take a look now at how you can use Elements Published to Confluence during a workflow transition to automatically create the postmortem page when you transition the issue to resolved. So here we are again in the support project, and we've finished working on this issue. So we're going to change the status. Resolve this issue. This was a software failure. And now we just need to refresh the page. And if we scroll down, we can see that there now is a Confluence page that is linked to the issue. So this is possible because we added a recipe to a workflow transition. So we can go take a look at that by clicking on the project settings. And then we want to look at the workflows. We want to edit the workflow. We want to select the right transition, so the transition to resolve this issue. We'll take a look at the post functions. And you can see there already is a Elements Published to Confluence post function added, but if you wanted to add another one, add that, select Publish to Confluence, and then from this dropdown, you'd have access to all of the recipes that you have previously configured. If you need to add a delay to let other processes run, you can add that, and just add that. So a couple things to keep in mind if you use a recipe on a transition. You won't be able to modify the page title like we saw with the first example. The first example, there was a dialog box and the page title was dynamically generated, but we were able to modify it before submitting. And so you won't see that dialog box if you trigger a recipe with a post function. So if you already have a page on your Confluence instance with the same title, the recipe won't work. So a good idea would be to insert the issue key or a date, some kind of a unique reference from the issue so that the title of your page will always be unique and you won't have any conflict with trying to create a page that the title that already exists. So we went over the same use case, creating a postmortem in 2 different ways. But before we finish, I can give you some other possible use cases where the app could be useful. So using Elements Published to Confluence, you could publish everything, the details from an epic or a user story, and then complete those details or have include more details on the Confluence page. You could create knowledge base articles and use the label from the issue, apply it to the Confluence page automatically. You could use it to publish release scope details. For meeting notes or minutes for a task with a dynamic title that would come from the name of the task. And then maybe as well as the date. For marketing teams, this could be really useful for the different kind of work that they would need to do, whether it's blog articles, campaign planning, event planning, webinar preparation, things like that. For an HR team, this could be really useful for employee onboarding. For example, create a 90-day plan directly from the Jira issue that there's a new hire. So that new hire issue might have a start date, have details about the position and things like that. Really useful to be able to publish all of those details right to a Confluence page. Another thing would be for business teams that are making requests and they need to be able to explain the details of the request, the priority, details about the department, details about what their need is, being able to take all the basic information that's requested or that they filled out in the Jira issue, and then they can expand on that in a linked Confluence page. Could be really useful. So then again, depending on the needs of your team, you can either trigger these, the creation of these pages manually or as a post function. So just to summarize a little bit what we've been able to see. The app allows you to create Confluence pages with issue data, labels, and attachments. You can trigger the page creation manually or on transition. The design layout is done with a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get editor. So there's zero scripting. I don't have any webhooks that you have to configure. In the example, so that the page used different font sizes, and you can change colors and add emojis. There's a lot of different options for doing the layout of your page. You can publish issue details next to static content. So in the example of the postmortem, I had put like a component, then colon, and then inserted the reference from the issue. So you can, mix and match, combine static content with then things coming from your issue. You can create dynamic page titles. And you can automatically link the page and the issue. So in summary, Elements Published to Confluence helps you get the information from Jira into Confluence, and without any complicated scripting or configurations. You don't have to spend any time copying and pasting. And I think you'll agree that it's pretty easy to set up and easy to use. So I hope you're inspired by how LMS published to Confluence allows you to close the loop between Jira and Confluence. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Guys, you
Hi,
can
Laura.
unmute your line. Yeah.
Hi, Laura. This is Fazla. So the publish, when you publish, the data comes from Jira to Confluence. Is it one time, or when the data keeps getting updated in Jira, does the Confluence page gets updated? Like a sync.
So currently it's a snapshot, a bit like printing. It's a snapshot of how the issue is. And so there's no update or synchronization of the fields if they do change in Jira. That's actually something that we have gotten a couple questions about. There are some teams that would like to see that data that is updated, others that prefer kind of that snapshot. If you have a chance to try the app, and if something like having that synchronization is something you definitely would need, we'd be happy to create a change request. I think actually our product manager would be interested in learning a little bit more about your use case. But yeah, currently it's just the snapshot.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh, Girsha, you're on mute. I can do.
Thanks for reminding. So I hope the others are not speaking on mute. So yeah, please make sure that yeah, you can unmute and ask questions. So Laura, the question is that if we have Cloud Jira and on-premise Confluence, how it's going to work? Will it still support, or you want both the things on the cloud?
So currently, you can only publish to a Confluence instance that's in the same site as your Jira Cloud. So currently, you can't publish from Jira Cloud to Confluence on premise, but I'll write that down for our product manager, because do you think that that's something? Do you know a lot of companies that's their setup? They're using maybe a Jira Service Management Cloud, or is that the way your company is set up?
No, there are a lot of companies I know for compliance reasons. They keep Confluence on premise. Right now, obviously, there's no server, but many companies who have data center, they continue to keep it on the on-premise. So that's why I asked this question.
Okay.
But I think cloud is the way to go, right? Undoubtedly. So. But I like the idea. It's amazing. You don't need to switch tabs or browsers. Just stay in one place, and the ITSM folks are going to really love it. Guys, any questions from the audience? There's a goodie for asking questions. Just kidding, guys. But yeah, please feel free to ask any questions, or if there is any suggestions, probably you can also point them out. Okay, I'm just quickly checking the chat if there is any, and I don't see anything there either. So I think the session was very clear and very easy to understand and absorb. And I hope that's the same with the rest of you as well. So if there is no more questions, then we can call it a day. So
Well, thank you very much for having me. I hope if you're curious, we'll give the app a try. We're always interested in getting feedback as well. If you have a chance to try it and you have some comments or ideas, or you found something a little bit confusing, we only released the app in August, so we're eager to get feedback of what people think, and we're starting to get change requests. And so we want to be able to prioritize the next features based on feedback.
Yep. Sure, Laura. We'll definitely give it a try. And thanks a lot for your time. And thanks everyone for joining. And the next event is on next Friday, which is 29th. So, please feel free to RSVP for the next event. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful evening and afternoon.
Have a nice Friday.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.